Pop, pop. Test, 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 test.
Emotional damage.
OGU44 played cop and dance rip for 0 bits. Testing.
Testing.
I have played more MMOs in my life than I
Uudesti toimi. Pitkä.
can remember, but none of them have come close to the surreal insanity of Otherland. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Drive Hayes, and I want to take you on an insane journey. A journey through one of the most maddening MMOs I've ever played, spread over several episodes, because this truly was an experience of epic proportion. The footage in this video and the following parts will show you a game that almost no one has ever finished, and will let us explore environments that only a handful of people, including the designers, have ever travelled through. I've been working on YouTube for a few years now, specialising in the MMO genre of games. I've made guides, opinion pieces, and recently my long-running Worst MMO Ever series, where I've been hunting down the strangest MMOs, playing them for a few days, and turning the experience into a light-hearted review. This game was meant to be one of those videos. It was meant to be another episode of Worst MMO Ever, but nothing prepared me for quite how odd Otherland would be. And nothing prepared me for the stupid choice I made halfway through playing it. This is part 1 of my journey to experience all of Otherland, a vast MMO to get every single Steam achievement in this game while being the only player in the world. Before we begin this journey into chaos, consider dropping a like on the vid or subbing to the channel for more MMO stuff. Ring the bell if you want all the future notifications. A massive thank you to all my supporters on Patreon and Twitch who make all my content possible. Right, grab a drink and settle in, because this gets weird. Otherland. I'd never heard of it, but the Steam description tells me it's based on a series of sci-fi novels by American author Tad Williams. I've not read them, so I'm hoping knowledge of the books isn't needed to enjoy the games. The Steam reviews are also mostly negative, so I'm already lowering my expectations. The game launches, it's made in the Unreal Engine, which is a pretty powerful thing, so I'm expecting some nice visuals at least, and I'm not disappointed with the looks of the menu.
This is a video from Josh Drive Hayes,
no background music
an episode of Worst MMO Ever.
Eerie. Create a new character, only seems to be one server, and the character creation is somewhat limited. I don't seem to be able to change my gender, and the standard issue character model reminds me of those Mafia City adverts. You know, the ones on Facebook with the level 1 crook walking around in them, because this is just the generic model. The face options have sliders, so obviously I slide everything to the extremes and make what amounts to a sad clown. None of the hairstyles suit him as much as being bald, so let's begin with bald sad clown. Now, a really odd choice. Do I want to be a social or a normal character? You see, Otherlands allows characters who value the social interaction of an MMO, the community and chatting, to skip all that pesky gameplay and just sit in the main city talking. But I'm quite the fan of actual gameplay, so we'll go with normal. There are 4 classes, and each one can deal damage, but 2 are damage while tanking and 2 are damage while healing. And after clicking the warrior, it asks me if I want to test. Okay, you can test the classes before committing to them. That's nice. So let's jump into the test arena. What on earth is this? Right, so Otherland is a sci-fi series of novels, and The Otherland is made up of a series of virtual worlds which are on full display here. The environments in this game are insanely cool. The visual designer deserves an award. This is unlike anything and will become even crazier as we go on. And the opening section of this game might honestly be the most memorable section of a video game I've ever played. However, while the visuals may be striking and lovely, the rest of the game is extremely badly built. You left click to do your basic attack, and pressing Control activates the cursor, but look, I click on the quest icon, and the quest description is, default description, please change this. They've not even bothered to proofread the class testing zone. Now, typos are the least of my worries, because despite enemies looking visually impressive, the combat mechanics just straight up don't work. Sometimes hits just stop connecting for seemingly no reason. After testing a bit, it seems that your attacks won't start connecting until the enemy notices you. And because the netcode in this game is a complete mess, sometimes the enemy just ignores you, even if you're right in front of them. Other times they'll spot you from the other side of the map, and you can only attack back when they decide that combat should begin. I mess around with the class test for a bit, then return to the class selection window, and another issue. The metamorph character creation window is now glitched open over the class selection. I guess I'll start the game as a long-range DPS. If melee combat is so bad, hopefully I can just stay far away from stuff and shoot it. The opening of the game is a training section. It's styled on a virtual simulation, and it breaks the fourth wall heavily as this training NPC refers to things like the chat box and spawned items and the heads-up display, checking we can interact with all of them. With that, he summons a portal, we step through, and the madness begins. We start the game in... honestly, just watch this cutscene. An existential, corrupted, destroyed Victorian orphanage ripped asunder down the centre and frozen in time and space as we walk down the stasis-held centre. The phantoms of children playing shown as jet black cutouts. This is Lovecraft levels of creepy, and it gets so much worse. Everything is frozen and still except us. We are free to walk by, heralded by the ambient ethereal strange. We meet another person. They give us the quest to find others in this realm. So we keep going. We meet the simuloid Sweetie Cheng, and she sends us to find someone called Crit You in the Face. I walk a bit more and I talk to Crit, and now I have a bow. I head through this door and another cutscene of a man preaching to 4 others on a central podium inside a room described as... How do I describe this in words? Ancient Egyptian techno neo-punk nouveau riche. I stop to write some notes, and when I look back, I'm standing like this. How has this happened? So I mess around for a bit and... right. It seems that going from high to low ground doesn't quite make the character model fall. It makes the legs slowly extend from the knee. And if you're quick, you can glitch it into this position. I enjoy messing with that for a bit, then we get into our first fight, and there are just particle effects, triangles and squares flying everywhere. Attacking with the bow has a very soft lock system onto the enemy, but you can also just randomly miss. Doesn't really matter where you're aiming because it doesn't always go where you're aiming, and if you turn while firing, sometimes the camera turns but your aim doesn't, meaning you just keep shooting into the distance. We'll see this more later. I make it into the crowd on the podium expecting an NPC to talk to, but no, they're frozen too, and there's nothing, there's no collision. You can just run right through them. This whole experience is uncomfortable. This feels wrong. I press M for the map and oh, this isn't right either. It's big, but it doesn't open centered on the player. It opens centered on the area, and you have to drag it to you every single time. There's also an icon list on the left, but hovering the cursor over the icons doesn't give you any information about what they actually are. It's literally just a list of icons that you might see. I leave the room and press on, and another cinematic. Now, granted, the visual flair of the fly-through cinematics is amazing. They've got such a great sense of action and chaos and movement captured in this frozen image. The dramatic power here is immense. But good God, walking through this is creepy. And the oppressive silence just adds to the feeling of I don't belong here, something is wrong. Playing this opening section made my stomach twist because it just feels so incomprehensibly incorrect. I fight on, and we're effectively in a tunnel of realities, cut apart and glued together with light. Are these scenes from the book? Are these worlds we get to visit? I don't know, but this is the most striking, stylistic opening I have ever played in a video game. Phasing through multiple existences, frozen in
help,
time,
request
really
plus
gives you a
YouTube
sense
URL,
of what
target boss
Otherland
plus 1 to 44,
is.
give,
But for every
eyes,
impressive
vote,
visual
bet,
touch, there's
my
two
bet,
bad ones.
gamble,
Killing this
8
zombie
ball,
makes it
slots,
explode and
duel,
the chunks of
accept,
flesh just
deny,
spin on the floor.
cancel,
I killed a
redeem,
few more to make
quote,
sure this wasn't a
add
fluke,
command,
and no, this
remove
happens
command,
every
edit
time.
command,
Now another
enable,
cutscene. A
permit,
flying,
raffle,
winged
open
coffin
raffle,
fires
closer
an
of
energy
fleet,
beam at
cancel
a group
raffle,
of, I assume,
add
brave
quote,
heroes.
quote
How
edit,
do you
quote
begin to
remove,
describe
open
what
queue,
this
close
looks like
queue,
to someone?
join,
This
leave,
is one of the only
request,
times I've ever
video,
seen a video
skip,
game use
veto,
graphics in
volume,
such an incredibly
blacklist,
weird way.
wrong video,
It's almost
points,
impossible
top,
to describe
TOF
it
hours,
with words.
add
What is
points,
this aesthetic?
remove
Egyptian
points,
sci-fi
merge,
neo-punk,
set game, set idle,
synthwave,
save mode,
retro-futuristic
save mode off.
Egypt. I have no idea.
God
This
damn.
is something you need to see to understand. I'm also not getting any experience from fighting these lower level enemies, so there's no point in fighting them. I open the quest list, I check the available quests, and another odd visual bug. All the available quests are highlighted with blue bars of light. Clicking on
Quote
one
number
of them,
6. All the
that's
donations will
essentially
go toward
selecting the
OGU44
quest,
development,
removes the
server
bar of
rent,
light.
and
So it looks like
subscriptions.
you're deselecting the
I love
quest
you.
instead.
Please
When
give
this
Moan
list is
Software
full,
and
it's
Game
obvious,
Development
but with only 2 quests in it,
14/07/2023.
it looks like the game just highlights the wrong one. When has a game ever used the highlight every single quest except the one you're clicking on visual choice? I run around more and I can't. There's a giant invisible wall blocking me. Have I gone the wrong way? Have I missed something? So I run all the way back. I find the NPC rage gun fighting some enemies, but I can't interact. I can help the fight, but the NPC
At
doesn't react and nothing
OGU44,
seems to matter.
successfully
I run
added
back to the
quote
start
number
and I
8.
find crit you in the face and right, here's the issue. Talking to an NPC sometimes finishes a quest, like it did with Crit earlier, but then the conversation just ends. You need to talk to the NPC again to accept the next quest in the quest
help is
line.
on cooldown for 185 seconds.
So I finished the quest earlier, got the bow, and then I just moved on, when what I should have done is finish the quest, get the bow, then talk to him again. So now I accept the quest. I get this hint box pop up telling me about things. I click the next button to scroll through all the hints, and when you get to the last page of the hints, the next button is still there, and clicking it just flashes the page white. This is a UI issue. If you're on the last page of a list, blank out the next button. Small touches like this show how rough around the edges the game really is. Sometimes people watch my videos and they get annoyed that I nitpick all the small details, but to me, it's the small details that show the real polish of a game, so we are going to go deep in this playthrough. Now I'm on the quest, I can fight the enemies off and actually help these guys. However, I need to do most of the damage for the kill to count in the quest, and my hits don't register on the enemies until the enemies acknowledge me. So even this small quest takes some time. I open the inventory and click on the question mark button to see if there's anything else I need to learn, and it doesn't do anything. The help icon is broken, so if you wanted to know more about the inventory in the tutorial, tough, you can't. I push on and I get some more plot from the NPCs. It seems that Otherland is collapsing. That's what we've been seeing. Some guy called Felix is breaking it apart and using it as his own personal plaything, acting out his god fantasy. We need to find some magical material called Soma to glue it back together, otherwise all the simulations will be lost. And here's the cool part. The simulations of the other lands, that's the bug planet, the giant ants, the Martian surface ruled by 19th century British colonial soldiers, or the chess-themed medieval fantasy battle, they don't know they're simulations. So plot-wise, we are saving their entire existence. I shoot some bugs, then interact with the goo they make to gather some Soma. Interacting with anything means crouching down and wiggling your hands, and then, there's no standing up animation, you just snap back into position. We push through the tunnel of realities into the sci-fi mall next. Again, total stasis. The robots of one side, the humans of the other, leaping into a frozen riot, with only a few enemies we can attack. And here you can see just how badly configured the gun is. I am aiming right at the enemy, crosshairs are on them, and the bullets are just whizzing past. Now I'm both impressed by the hitboxes of the bullets and appalled by the combat mechanics. The aesthetics of this simulation reality tunnel are incredible. I've never seen a game start like this. This is honestly unforgettable. And we'll see as this goes on, the visuals in the game are top notch, especially the environmental design. Normally I would tell you to avoid the MMOs I review like the plague, because I find the bad or dead games so you don't have to, but if you're interested in visual design, or using the 3D games design space to create a sense of environmental wonder, then play the opening of this game, just for the atmosphere. This is the Mars level, Martian workers being oppressed by soldiers dressed in the red colonial uniforms of the British Empire. I mean, yeah, let's be fair, if you were going to have an empire oppress an entire planet, it might as well be the one that merely oppressed this entire planet. Stick to what you know. Along with my gun being impossible to aim, it apparently turns sideways when I hold down fire while not aiming at an enemy. And I can even rotate the camera and my character stays locked in place, shooting at whatever they think needs to be shot at. If you do play this game, you must also make sure to let go of the idea that you are in charge of what your character does. The next reality, we step through the light and a hellish demonic battlefield between some winged denizens and a gleaming fantasy army. I cut down 3 zombies, finally have enough Soma to fix this place, and I get a nice new shirt for my troubles. This dude says Felix is looking for us, so we need to disguise ourselves. Okay, I'm going to be real with you here. This plot was clearly written on an immense amount of drugs. And even attempting to understand it is maddening, so instead I'm just going to take each quest at face value and agree to do whatever it says. And if anyone ever tells you they understand the plot of the Otherland MMO, they are lying. Oh, standing directly on the edge of something like this makes your character vibrate up and down too. And oh god, what the hell are my legs doing now? It's worse than before. Okay, I figure out if you stand on the low floor, then step to higher ground, the game refuses to move your torso until your legs catch up, and sometimes it lags, so you get this squat stance. The texture on your skin also looks like Stretch Armstrong. You don't have knees, you just have a little bit in the middle of your legs that softly curves. I need to kill 10 of these things now, and because they're now a quest enemy, they drop a quest item. Every item an enemy drops explodes out of its body, and every quest item on every quest just looks like a wireframe trophy. While doing this, because combat really is quite dull, I try to clip out of the map, and to be fair, they've actually got these areas rather well hemmed in, but sometimes, like this, the scenery doesn't have any collision detection. Oh, this bit of decoration is also just the same model as the giant flying coffin from earlier, and oh, the camera has no idea what to do when you are by a wall. You can
see if
clip
restart
the
sorts
camera
that bot
inside
problem.
your own hollow body and see your legs. Or
First
you can
trying
look at the
this.
inside of your own face, literally any time you're standing next to a solid object. Kill all 10, then talk to Celas, that's the NPC guiding us, and he tells us we need to hack into the Otherland network and deactivate 3 power nodes to limit the power Felix has. We will do this by visiting the virtual world, so you know what, game, you're in charge, let's just do this. The first world, and I love this transition from running up a clinical white virtual staging hexagon surface to the mud, wood and blood of a World War I era trench. The visual transition is fantastic. And then journeying through this trench is surreal. Again, frozen. Again, silent. But there's flames mid-lash, soldiers mid-scream and burning in frozen silent horror. But the creepiest sight is this regiment of soldiers, all using the same model, all lined up perfectly, and none of them with any collision. You can run straight through all of them. Fight through the trench, a few soldiers, all the same model obviously, attack us, and sometimes combat goes fine, sometimes it just stops responding. Sometimes when I'm out of combat I can use the right-click rest ability, sometimes not. Seems to be random as to when. I know you need to be out of combat, but that doesn't seem to be enough. I deactivate the power cube and then move on, and I see this bit. God damn, this game outdoes itself in the creepy visuals every single minute. The area between the trenches of the warring armies is cleared, a huge depression in the earth filled in with stagnant water caused by this large humanoid figure wielding some ethereal energy. And the soldiers from both sides are walking down the muddy slopes toward him and worshipping him. They are slaves, frozen slaves to a frozen god. I will never ever be able to forget this image because it is so strikingly disturbing. A single NPC I spoke to earlier tells me they call this thing Dread, and they began worshipping it the moment they saw its immense power. Completely by accident, then managed to clip the camera inside one of the faces of the frozen soldier, and I'm not even sure if this makes it hilarious or even more creepy. It's just so unusual, I don't know what to think about this. I fight through more of the trench and I take on a bit too much and I die. When you die, you can respawn at your corpse or at a nearby portal, but the corpse option has a cooldown. It doesn't show you what it is, but it does have one. Talk to Celas and the swap weapon tooltip pops up. Again, this is the 4th time this exact tooltip has popped up and the 4th time I have closed it. He sends us through the portal to the next layer of Otherland, and I'm just playing in a state of awe and wonder. I'm actually excited to see what they can make next. It's a sci-fi reality. The sky ripped apart, purple neon obelisks lining a pathway to the giant floating coffin angel. A handful of fighters shooting at him while he blasts lasers down onto them. I accept a quest and I need to destroy the obelisk, so I start shooting and this spawns little minions. They're so small they're hard to aim at, and the softlock isn't really helping because my gun just misses. They swarm me and they take me down a few times. Thankfully, the resurrection portal is right there, so getting back in is fine. One time, however, I do die standing up.
Did I really break it?
This isn't the last
Laughing
time
face.
the game will just completely forget to play death animations. The only way I can do this quest is by throwing myself at the obelisks again and again, and eventually they go down. I finish the quest and I'm sent through more portals to find Celas. This time I'm in a futuristic museum. Displays of caged beasts and bugs with a dying soldier on the floor. It's actually the same soldier from the World War I trench, but this is the original, and he tells me the Grail has happened and it's inevitable, and more sci-fi sounding techno speak. Then I move on and oh wow, this effect. I like this effect. They have used a distance-based visual trick. When the player is far away from that model of a table with people playing either side, the model is physically small. But as we move closer, the model grows at an accelerated rate. So it looks tiny, but we end up running underneath it. I absolutely love when games use non-Euclidean geometry to mess with players, because gaming is the only medium that can do this. The visual designers of this opening area need an award. If you made this, this is incredible. Talking about visuals, let's just watch this next cutscene. This is 8 Squared, a virtual chess simulation that grew consciousness and evolved. That was incredible. Celas now tells us that Felix is gone, the Neo Grail is activated, and we need to kill 14 Neo Grail soldiers, so I get to killing. Now, beyond the insanely awesome environmental graphics, let's address the elephant in the room, and that is your character's ass. It is succulent. They have used the standard Unreal Engine player model, and that model just happens to have a phenomenal ass. And every weapon has a slightly different walk animation, and every walk animation is a showcase of ass. So yes, if you play this game, prepare for intense ass graphics for the entire time, because even with armor equipped, it is still that round. Nothing can contain that ass. The combat, honestly, is what ruins the game. The combat is inconsistent, it's unreliable. Hits sometimes connect, sometimes not. It's super generic, and when you compare a combat system